Hi, I'm Jeff. This is my wife Sherry, and this is Jada. You wave. And this is our adoption story. So my wife and I, before we had any children, came to the realization, independent of one another, that we wanted to adopt a child. We hadn't started our family, had been married for about 5 years, I think, and had been on a little vacation, just enjoying time with ourselves, and we were sitting in an airport on our way back, and I looked at her, and I had been thinking about this for a while, but just decided it was time to broach the subject with her and said, you know, I think I want to adopt a child someday. And she said, no way, me too. And I said, I think I want to adopt a child from another country too. And she said, no way, me too. And we had never even spoken about it before. So I think it was at that moment that we knew this was something that was destined to be.
Our adoption started out very smoothly, but we hit a couple of bumps in the road, one of which was the fact that we moved 3 times. They originally told us that the adoption should take about a year, or actually less than a year, I think, maybe 8 months or so. But after moving 3 different times, it ended up taking us 3 years. The second thing that came up with our adoption was I started having some mysterious health issues, I guess I would say. Developed some weakness that progressively got worse and worse and worse, and then turned into slurred speech and difficulty breathing and just some really weird stuff. And this was during the process of the adoption, and I got the question from Jeff that you would never want to hear, and that was, do you think we should go through with this? With all my strange health issues and no answers, I'd seen several doctors and didn't have any answers on it. He asked me that question, and my immediate response was, we absolutely have to go through with this. There is a little girl picked out for us by God, and none of these health issues were a surprise to God, so we knew that it was all going to work out, and that's exactly what did happen.
So after the process of waiting for 3 years in 3 different states, we finally got the phone call that every parent waits for. And I was actually out of town with work, driving, and I get a call, and the lady says, Jeff, this is so-and-so with Children's Hope International, and will you hold for a moment while I get Sherry on the phone? And then I knew that something was up, and so my heart started beating pretty fast, and then she got Sherry on the phone, and she told us, we have your referral to a little girl named Itiana, and she's 4 months old, and we wanted to let you know that we've matched you. We've paired you with a little girl. And so both of us crying, not able to speak at the moment, and the lady on the phone doing all the talking. And needless to say, we were overjoyed. And then it takes a little while. So 4 months later, we traveled to Ethiopia and spent 10 days. We traveled with 14 other couples from the U.S. We're there 10 days, and it took, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 days before they brought Jada to us. And so initially she was probably frightened would be the right word, I would say. Just a little taken aback, and allowed us to hold her, but that was about it. Very reserved in her response to us, and then we fed her, and she fell asleep on my chest, laying down, which was the cutest thing in the world. And then, I don't know, a little while later, maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes later, she woke up and looked at me and had the biggest grin on her face, and from that moment on, she felt like ours. Bonded extremely quickly, and we spent a few more days there in Ethiopia, and then had the opportunity to bring her home and let her meet the rest of the family.
We finally hit U.S. soil, and we were really excited to come back home. We had prayed for 3 years, all of the kids. We had 3 other children at the time, biological children, and we had been praying, all of us, including the kids, for 3 years for this little girl, and we could not wait for her to meet her siblings. So we got into town and drove home, and then on our house was this, I could get emotional, it was so sweet. There was this big sign that said, "It's a girl, welcome home, Jada." And it was such a neat thing. Those are our friends, our church friends, our neighbors, and Granny and Papa were there, and everybody was so excited to welcome Jada. Something about Jada that you got to know is she definitely lights up a room. She is one of those kids who, wherever we are, everybody knows Jada. She is a breath of fresh air and has been so much fun, and we are certainly blessed.
So, to wrap our story up, I think I would just say what a blessing Jada has been. I couldn't imagine what our life would be like without her, what our family would be like without her. She's made such an impact, not only on our lives, on our family, but our extended family, our friends, and everyone we know. There's such a huge need out there for adoption. So many babies who don't have the blessing of a mom and dad at home, and I would just encourage everyone who's out there to consider adopting for the blessing that it could be in your life and that child's.